All right.
Little seasoning to start the show. I like it.
Welcome to Turtle Time.
It's a rebrand. We're pivoting.
Oh, yeah. So it actually just started raining here.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is good for my garden. It's been raining nicely. Tomatoes are liking it. Yeah, it's been a strange week, especially, with all of the news going on in crypto.
Indeed, everybody's getting sued out here.
Right? I mean, I kind of expected it with Binance, but then like Coinbase, come on, bro.
Coinbase was a surprise. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but
I mean, it's a publicly traded company. How are you going to come after them after you've already approved them?
Gary's doing whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Gary's doing Gary.
Yep, that's it. But I don't know. I'm pretty bullish on the whole thing just because, like, I watched the price drop down to about 1,800, and then right now we're right back up. We might even be higher than we were before then. So it's kind of like
people aren't. Yeah, they're not having it.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, because the U.S. alone isn't going to drive the price down forever.
True. The U.S. does have a tendency to, like, set a standard, though. I mean,
yeah, but so did China.
Yeah.
When every time China bans Bitcoin, the price drops and bounces. It's like a rubber ball.
Yep.
It's like, boop.
So we're trying it now.
Right. So, yeah, we're a little late on today's stream or this week's stream, because we usually do it on Mondays, but here we are on a Wednesday doing it because I was busy on Monday. I will likely be busy next Monday as well because I have a slam dance meeting. So we will probably move Zombie Time next week as well. And also, we skipped from A to Z Creator Economy podcast this week.
Yes, took a little bit of a mid-series break there.
Yeah.
A little bit of IRL scheduling, a little bit of kind of a breather, and we're doing some outreach in the AV Guild at Bankless DAO to try to get more talent and more, more value to that.
A little bit of a retro.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to do a midway retro here where we're going to look back at the last 7 episodes. I mean, we've kind of already done it to some degree, but because we looked back at the last 7 episodes and we said, all right, like, what do we need to do to carry this home? And, hey, buddy, get your butt off my tee. We're not doing this. I've got my Earl Grey hot.
Nice.
Just like Picard would like it. I guess you're not a Star Trek fan.
Didn't get the reference. Nope.
Oh no, yeah, that's him. Every time he goes to the replicator, Earl Grey hot.
Got
it. So yeah, I'm drinking my tea. Actually, it's probably a bit caffeinated for this time of the year because I've been, as you know, I cut back on my caffeine a couple months back. It's been pretty good on me, and but tea isn't quite the same strength as coffee.
Right.
So, but it is a highly caffeinated tea for this time of the evening. Usually, this time of day, I'm doing the green tea.
Yeah, a little bit of a lighter load.
Yep.
I hear you. I got some. Sometimes I just want to taste coffee, but I also, again, don't want the caffeine. I got some instant decaf. Just mix up a cup when I want one.
Yo, we got girl in the stream.
Oh, hey, girl.
She's in the chat there. If you want to jump into the Restream studio, I can DM you a link. They're on a delay, so I'll wait for a response.
Oh, yeah.
But Gerlene is supposed to also be here. I sent her the link. She's normally on Twitch, but I guess we can also talk about that. How
sure
Twitch isn't want us co-streaming anymore.
Twitch is a piece of work, I'll tell you. It's like they're trying to lose their own platform participants.
Good thing we got Hypeshot.
Good thing we got Web3 and Hypeshot ready and waiting. So the deal with Twitch is They're updating their terms of service so that they don't want you to stream live to anywhere else while you're streaming live to Twitch. If you're streaming using a platform like Restream, for example, to stream to Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and wherever else all simultaneously, no dice. Twitch is going to drop you.
And what do you mean by drop you? Like, are they actually going to block us? Are they going to deplatform us? What are they going to do? What are they really going to do?
Your account will be closed. Like, if you violate the terms of service, you can't use the platform.
So, like,
probably a 3-strike procedure or whatever, but
interesting. So,
but they're not even coming down hard on anybody but themselves. They're just going to scare everybody off. The options now are play Twitch's stupid games or go to literally any other platform. It's kind of a stupid choice to make your users make.
Yeah, and I mean, Twitter tried this a few weeks back where they were like, no they didn't want people using Restream either. Remember, there was like a thing where they were blocking. They actually, a couple of our streams went down on Twitch. It was just unplayable, and then they came right back up hours later.
Huh.
So I wondered if it was like they weren't actually able to block it, or
they didn't want it live, and they were.
It.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. They just paused it and replayed it after the other sources could be confirmed as no longer live. I think I have a wasp.
It went live, but you couldn't play it after it was live, and then it came back.
I have a wasp in my front window that the cats are probably going to boop, so I'm going to go handle that.
Okay.
I will be back in a minute.
Gotcha.
I don't know how I'm going to handle this.
Get you a cup. Well, he's going to go battle a wasp real quick. Yeah, man, the SEC stuff is really hilarious, and it's funny how we're not reacting at all. I mean, at least Ethereum bounced back. Matic is down pretty bad. I haven't really looked at the other ones, but from what I saw on the Bankless stream yesterday, Matic was one of the not as down bad as the rest of them. So that was interesting. I don't know. I'm really not concerned. I really think that there's no way in hell the SEC can win because, for one, you've already listed Coinbase as a stock. People can invest in Coinbase directly. So to now come through and say, well, Coinbase is doing things that we don't approve of, it's like maybe you should have said that in May of 21 when you listed them.
And they were already doing them at that time.
Right. Because technically, and this is what's funny is the SEC is supposed to be protecting investors, right? Well, all you did was make everyone who invested in Coinbase just go down even more because Coinbase stock is down pretty damn bad right now from what I understand.
Right. They're not protecting investors.
I look at it as maybe I said it's a little bit of a protection to investors because you just gave me another entry point.
Yeah, right. Oh, so I should buy now, you're saying.
Right. Like I saw ETH drop to 1,800. I'm like, well, I better scoop a little bit of that. See Matic at 76 cents. I'm like, yeah, I better scoop some of that. And, I'm not afraid. And also, I think that if you are afraid, if you're worried about holding Matic, you can always buy my music NFTs. They are not securities. I will take those securities off your hands in exchange for music NFTs.
It might not be financial advice, but it may be musical advice.
It is musical advice because while I can't offer you any return on investment, I can offer you airdrops of
Yes.
more music. Speaking of which, who said this? Watcher, who is, I believe he's also part of the Riff team. He's definitely in the Riff chat in Telegram. He was saying, what if free to listen, pay to collect, free to listen isn't a model that's going to work?
What if it isn't, you're asking?
Yeah, that's what he said. What if it isn't a model that's going to work? I can find that tweet. I think I even retweeted it.
Okay, good question.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty relevant question because what it made me think about, and this is something I need to think about as a musician, and obviously we should all be thinking about as musicians, but like, should I be thinking about making music that you can't hear if you don't buy it? If you think about it, CDs were like that because the only way you could hear anything
Bonus
by an
tracks.
artist is if it was a single. So you release your singles, everything else is on the album. If you want to hear that song that's not on the radio, you got to buy my album. But
And even when it went to full album releases, you still couldn't, like, there were bonus tracks that only came with the full album, or that were like part of the final track on the album. You know what I mean? You had to opt into the whole experience to get the bonuses. So
yeah,
I mean,
here we go.
maybe that would work. Maybe that's a model that can continue through into the Web3.
Yeah, Watcher.lens, Watcher.eth is he is a part of the Riff team and Lens Protocol.
Nice.
And his tweet was, have we ever thought about the fact that free to listen, valuable to own might not work? What if free to listen makes valuable to own almost impossible? Which is an interesting question because then today Riff app had a Twitter poll that said who benefits the most from Web3 music or something to that degree, and it was established artists, up and coming artists, fans, or all of the above. And I clicked up and coming artists as my choice of who benefits the most.
Okay.
0% of people said fans. No one thinks the fans get anything from buying music NFTs, which is the antithesis of NFTs.
Right.
Because everyone right now basically only buys NFTs if number go up. They don't care about supporting artists. I think only in music do people care about supporting an artist. Any other NFT, if I don't think this is going up, I'm not buying it.
That's a bold statement.
I think it's a true statement, though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, someone else said, and this is a bold statement because it speaks to, I guess, what Sound.xyz is doing, because they're going to be doing something on layer 2, maybe deploying on Optimism or something. So it won't be on layer 1 anymore. I'm not sure exactly. I don't have the details on that. I meant to tune into some Twitter spaces, but missed it. But somebody replied to that. Another musician, Dave G, he said, like, people only care about number go up. They don't care about sustainability. And that's part of the reason that I think we still see most of the NFT action happening on Ethereum. We really don't have any Polygon blue chips yet. And Polygon is one of the oldest side chains to Ethereum. Not technically an L2, but a side chain. And we still don't see any blue chips on Polygon after almost 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, we got Avagachi, Utes, and Utes is new. Utes just came over from Solana. So, like, yeah, I can't, and then other than that, like, the other bullish thing on Polygon is Lens Protocol and Riff app and things that are building on Lens. So we really don't see we really don't see adoption or people trying to, like, make big moves on L2. We really don't see any blue chips. I see someone in Hypeshot, Kevin here, says where you can only listen if you bought certain music NFTs. So I guess that's a way is like you have the single and the single open-gates the rest of the album. That's interesting.
I can definitely see that use case. Yep, that would be like, yeah, or collect 3, collect 3 songs on the album and unlock the rest or something like that.
Yeah, I saw someone else saying on Twitter, I forget who this was. I'm trying to keep my references straight here, but I saw someone else saying, why do you even bother putting it on Spotify? And don't tell me for exposure. Because none of the people on Spotify, I think they said they have like 1,800, maybe 18,000, maybe I'm missing a zero. I don't know. But they said they have a lot of listeners and none of them bought their music NFT. I could see that as well. Like, I don't think anybody who's bought any of my Riff releases is a person who's listening to me on Spotify regularly. So, and then, you know, as we've always talked about and confirm numbers again, but like basically on any streaming platform, whether it's YouTube or Spotify or Twitch or wherever, you're getting 0.004 per play or per listener or whatever their metric might be. But it's like you get 40% of a penny.
That's insanely low, like insulting.
Yeah, like for me,
and that's the norm.
It would take, because Helicon Descending, each track is 7-matic, it would take 3,500 plays to make that. I would have to get one person or a collection of people to listen to 3,500 times to listen to my song before I would make 7-matic, or $7, counting it as dollars. Because
yikes.
Right. And I mean, 3,500 isn't that hard, but also like, I mean, it kind of is if you're up and coming, but like, yeah, exactly.
So here's what I feel like. People buy vinyls, right? It's the same song, it's the same track, it's the same content per se, but there's a collectability to it. There's a certain amount of like value attributed to how hard of a fan you are. You know what I mean? And I think NFTs definitely fall into that category where, yeah, I might really like some artists that I found on Spotify, but I may not want to buy their NFTs, or I may buy NFTs from a person I've never heard of on Spotify. I don't know. The valuation
Spotify is trying to do NFTs.
Different. I think that'll get shut down. I don't think Spotify's community wants that.
The SEC is going to sue Spotify. These are securities.
Unregistered securities exchange. But I like the idea of Web3 and Web2 running in parallel here, where you can deliver your content through traditional platforms or traditional methods, and also have that additional layer of, well, yeah, maybe I'll release a remix as an NFT album.
Yeah, like Robbie's saying encrypted NFTs can only consume if you own. And it could be like you're saying, do a blended method of like you release an album, but maybe the album maybe it's only half the album, or there's a whole secondary album that's a bunch of bonus tracks.
Yeah,
and you can't listen to any of this if you don't own the album or own the single or whatever it might be. Yeah. That gives you further access to more stuff. As a musician, it's a hard call to make, because on one hand, getting a banger out there could get you more listeners. And then you have to decide which songs do I give privately, because if I do them privately, I'm like kind of, you know, making it hard for it to blow up, so to speak. Like I can collect direct value from it, but what if nobody ever hears this song? And then you have to decide which songs you're willing to kind of leave in the dark, so to speak.
Or leave it up to the collector to decide if that's something that gets shared.
Right.
I guess if you're doing airdrops like that, if you're doing the more personalized approach, it might be maybe a gift is the right way to look at it versus another track. If you're doing those one-offs, you can't really expect them to blow up, I would say. Unless that recipient really loves it, you know, unless they amplify it themselves. But it's almost treated as a different piece of music.
Exactly. So you really have to make that distinction of like, what do I want to go out into the public to bring people in? And then what do I want to give to my best fans and my best friends and closest collectors? So I've been thinking about this with the airdrops. So I've been thinking that what I would like to almost do is create one-of-ones for the airdrops. So instead of making, you know, however many airdrops to go with however many collected, I literally will make And it might just be different album art. It's not going to be that the song is any different, but your art is your art.
That's cool.
So then, even though, you know, multiple people got the song, you got your version of it. And if someone likes your art, you can potentially swap, or maybe you can list it, and it's like, you know.
I do. That's an interesting approach. I like that.
So I've been thinking about that because I was working on the album art for the airdrops in the meantime while we're trying to mint out these Helicon Descending tracks. So yeah, that would be an added value. The one of one factor kind of gives it, and especially since you're airdropping one of ones, you're actually giving the fans, the audience, a chance to own or flip something that no one else has. And the only way you could get it was by buying the editions.
Built-in allow lists.
Yeah. So, which, you know, as we said before, track 1, 2, and 3 is going to have one song. Tracks 4, 5, and 6 will have another song. And then tracks 7, 8, and 9, it will have a third song. So I already have the 3 songs done and ready. Actually, dude, one of them, super excited about. I did a lot of work on this song, and it's kind of a preview of the next album because it has a little bit of music pulled from the next album remixed. So it's almost like this airdrop is the alpha.
Interesting. All right.
And that one, I believe, is going to be the airdrop for tracks 7, 8, and 9. So what I mean by this is if you collected 1, 2, and 3, you have to have collected all 3, 1, 2, and 3, and you will get an airdrop song. Same for 4, 5, and 6, and the same for 7, 8, and 9.
Nice. I got some airdrops coming then.
Oh, definitely. You're in there. And then, like I said, if I make those one-of-ones, that's really cool. Doing the mirror editions, I'm gonna, you know, the mirror thing is a bit off because Gerline is currently working on the animated film. That's going to be really cool. Anybody who made it to Sus Chat yesterday got a chance to hear me and Gerline building in public, talking about what we're going to be doing for that film. And so that's one reason to be. So anybody who doesn't know, we do Sus Chat in the Zimtimo Discord channel every Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central. And that is essentially pretty much just, you know, whoever comes around hanging out, hearing me, Z-Fi, and Gerline talk about work for the upcoming week and talk about things we're doing. It's kind of our building in public moment, but we're building in public and private. We're in our server. Like, anybody's welcome, but not everybody shows up. So it's very public.
It's an exclusive. Private. It's exclusively public.
And it's not even live streamed. So there is no
it's just a chill
catching
up
on.
Session.
You're either there or you're not, you know. We thought about streaming it. We've talked about it in the past, but I think it's cool. It's one of the few times that we're just like able to hang out and not be too, you know, worried about the camera. I mean, yesterday I was like,
we were on one yesterday. There was some campfire chat going on.
Yeah, we got deep.
Fourth dimensional or multi-dimensional human travel, and it was good chat.
Yeah, yesterday was a weird day now that I think about it. It's like on one hand, we've got the SEC suing Coinbase. On the other hand, we've got DOD whistleblower telling us that we got UFOs. And which one of these is the bigger FUD?
They're just, you know, it might be the Steve Bannon approach. It might just be flood the zone with shit. Overload the viewers so they don't know what's important or what matters. Just give them more stuff.
Right?
Yeah, the news these days, you know, I just kind of,
okay. What are you going to do?
Clown show.
I mean, that was one of those things. I went and read some of the articles after we had the conversation because the first time I heard it was yesterday when Gerline told us. And so I went and like found some articles and was reading about it. Man, like, you know, not to get too political or anything, but man, like the media these days is just so nuts that I don't even know what a reputable source looks like anymore. You know what I mean?
It's hard to get content without the opinion, without the bias, without the like the story and the personal spin. I want information.
right. And I mean, the other part is even like, you know, because like the idea of legitimacy, you're like, oh, this guy worked at the Department of Defense for 14 years. And it's like,
Says he did.
Right. Well, and how much like actual like looking into this I mean, realistically, you have to look into these things to actually even try to believe it. But like, it's almost like the person who dropped it, I didn't already know who they were. They're not already legitimate in my mind. Their legitimacy is based on this job they've had for the 14 years that I didn't even know they had. So I have to believe that this person is a reputable and legitimate person before I can even start to put credence into that story.
And then you got to consider the source too. I don't know what News Nation is. That means nothing to me.
I read it on The Guardian. The Guardian, I don't know, whatever. Like, but even still, like, am I going to believe it if it came on Fox News or CNN or fucking,
right?
No, like, maybe if it came on NPR, I would be more apt to believe it, but I don't know. Like, it's really.
I'm in the I believe it completely, already felt it was true, and don't care about this recent announcement. That's just me. I'm a tinfoil hat kind of guy.
I mean, if we're going to get totally tinfoil hat, they might as well just put GPT inside the UFO and let it run itself.
It might be where they got it from. We don't know.
I was watching, so Shelly and I are watching all the Terminator movies. And yeah, that's our mission because she hasn't seen them all. She wants to watch, she's seen all the older ones, but maybe not even all the older ones because she never saw 3, for instance. So we watched Terminator 2, and I was like, you know, first of all, whoa, man, she pointed out a huge plot hole that I had never noticed. But first of all, Dyson. You've seen Terminator 2, right?
I may have.
Here we go. This guy hasn't seen anything.
What are movies? I don't know.
So Dyson is the person who works for Cyberdyne Systems, who is working directly with the leftover Terminator parts from the first movie. Basically, this company found the leftover Terminator parts, lied about it, did a giant cover-up, and has made their entire business model on these found robot parts from the future.
Okay.
Kind of like what you're saying with the UFO. Like, that's where ChatGPT came from. They found it in the UFO and in the trash file. So Dyson, like, Sarah Connor shoots the dude's house up, tries to kill him and his family, and then, like, within a couple of hours is totally convinced that these robots from the future are going to kill everyone and is ready to go to work and burn down his whole life's work. Like, totally just like that quickly is ready to jump ship on his entire life's work because, oh yeah, seems plausible that these future robot parts probably cause the end of the world. And he was just way too quick to accept it, in my opinion, you know, and I guess it's a movie. You got to move the pace along. You can't spend too much time trying to convince this one person. We're already convinced. Like, even like the way Sarah Connor talks in that movie, like there's a scene like right then when they convince Dyson to go do this thing, she's like doing this monologue where she's like, we're making the future up as we go. It's like, well, yeah, that's how everyone lives. We're all making the future.
That's how it works.
That's pretty much how it works, unless you already are convinced that the future is coming. So this monologue only means something to like you and 2 other people. So yeah, whole weird thing with that, but way too easily convinced. And here's the huge plot point they messed up. So in Terminator 1, the reason Cyberdyne System ever gets the chip and the arm that they get to be able to do Terminator 2 is because at the end of Terminator 1, they smashed the robot in this drill press or whatever, in this giant press. They smashed the robot, the pieces are left over. I'm guessing that all they got was the hand and the chip because everything else was smashed beyond recognition or smashed beyond usability. However, even still, there was a giant smashed robot skull somewhere. Like the chip was in the skull. So they got the chip out of the skull, but you still have the rest of the parts. They're just not useful because they were smashed. The arm was the only thing sticking out of the press because it was reaching for her at the time. So, but everything else was in the press. Everything else is smashed.
So you can reverse engineer with the parts that are there.
Exactly. So that's kind of what they were doing. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Terminator 2, just leave right now. They destroy everything to prevent the future. They throw the arm in, they throw the chip in, they throw Arnold in. However, not even 3 minutes before that, Arnold gets his arm stuck in a gigantic gear and takes a piece of metal and like breaks his arm off. Okay. The arm is still stuck in the gear. No one went back to get the arm.
Uh-huh.
So that's you like they think they destroyed the future by destroying everything, but you left an arm in the press. Nobody went to get the arm.
That's the plot hole. That's the loophole here, huh?
Right. That's the big loophole where I'm like, I mean, even if it was crushed beyond recognition, you've still got a robot hand crushing a press.
Time for a Terminator 10. Right? That's what the movie industry is doing right now. Milk everything dry.
Oh, well, they've been doing that. I mean, no matter what, like, that's kind of where they went with the series is like, in order to avoid all these time travel conundrums, they're just like, oh, time is a rubber band and everything you do just delays it.
Okay.
It does. Time is going to snap back no matter what is kind of and I think there's other movies that have played that with time travel where it's like time is malleable, but not that malleable. You can bend it, but the future's coming. So anyway, this is because you see, you got me back down this damn UFO time travel.
I get camping, and it's like all I want to do is where are my aliens, where are my friends at,
I mean, hey, I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. Like when it comes to fiction, I'm sci-fi, not fantasy. Fantasy is not very intriguing to me. The closest I get into fantasy is like I love Conan. And I feel like Conan is borderline fantasy because there is some magic and there's things like, but Conan is also a very practical fantasy story because Conan is afraid of magic. So there are sorcerers and things in there, but like not a lot of it, whereas like, and then H.P. Lovecraft, who is also like a writer from the same time period as Robert Howard, who created Conan. They actually were friends and they would like use each other's characters and stories and stuff like that. So I love H.P. Lovecraft, but H.P. Lovecraft to me is still less fantasy and more sci-fi because he's in the genre of cosmic horror. And I feel like cosmic horror is sci-fi more than fantasy.
Yeah.
Because it's cosmic, right? So it's dimensional. However, like, Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, I watched the movies. I've read a few of the books. Not as big on that stuff, Like my favorite book series is Dune. I've read every Dune book in existence. There's like 17 of them or something ridiculous. There's more Dune books than you can shake a fist at.
Might need to put that on an audio list. Or an audiobook list. I miss audiobooks. I used to read a ton as a kid, and sci-fi was always it. So, yeah, I'll have to get caught up.
Yeah, I love audiobooks. I
want to reread The Expanse too. I watched the series, but I want to read it.
The Expanse? See that? I'm not familiar with that. There you go. You got me on something. The Expanse, huh? Uh-oh. I might have to do a deep dive. You might have just sparked something.
If you want to speedrun it, it is a TV series.
I see. And it's still on or it just ended?
I think it ended on whatever network was running it, it had ended. And then there was a season or two of like crowdsourced, tried to be fan funded. And then I think it ended.
Gotcha. Because, yeah, I'm seeing here 2015 through 2022. Amazon Original. Okay. I got Amazon. I can do that. Yeah, that's a good idea. That way I can watch it, and if I don't like it, I don't have to read it or listen
There
to
you go.
it.
There you
But
go.
no, I do love audiobooks because I read all of the Dune books, but now whenever I want to re-experience a Dune book, I typically go to listening to it. It's also because in my old job, I had a lot of time to read audiobooks because I was, listen to audiobooks because I was busy. Whereas now I spend a lot of time, either at the computer or in the studio playing music. So there's not a lot of downtime for the only time now I can really do. And also I'm listening to a lot of podcasts now. So it's kind of like if I go on a walk with the
You're already
dog,
using the ears. Yep.
I'm listening to Bankless or I'm listening to Lex Fridman or something. And Lex Fridman has eaten up all my goddamn time with his long ass fucking podcasts. And also why I'm always thinking about aliens and AI now, because that dude
It gets in your head, huh? I like that.
Huberman too. I like his podcast, but that's more practical. That's more like neurobiology and practical applications of things that make me a better brain user.
The only podcast I watch is From A to Z.
Those guys, what are you gonna do with them?
Those guys.
Yep. Speaking of which, I don't know if anybody is still paying attention on Hypeshot, but if you would like to join us, I can send anybody a link to Restream Studio. You can be here hanging out with us if you want to jump on the call and chat. I forget that we should be inviting people all the time. We used to do that in the very beginning of From A to Z. We would always invite people, and a few people showed up. Most people would just show up and hang out in the background and never jump on stage.
And that's cool too. It's just kind of it's like a backstage behind the scenes
experience.
kind of.
Then you can also troll us by using the private chat and saying funny shit that nobody can see.
Yep. But I think we got a good thing going here. We got some discussion on Hypeshot, and we've got some discussion on Twitch. So,
I'm not using Twitch today.
Oh, well, there you go.
We're only using Hypeshot, and that's going to be especially
consolidated
Twitch,
discussion.
Yeah, like Twitch. You shot.
Oh, that's right. The whole.
Yeah.
Getting used to it still, dummies.
Yeah, we were doing Twitch and Hypeshot, and the only reason we were doing Twitch is just because I wanted to have that normie outreach program.
Yeah, it's a different audience. It's a different demo to get.
But now we're really just gonna have to push Hypeshot and tell people like this is the plan for Zombie Time. Is anybody who's watching, we are going to be doing Zombie Time on Hypeshot first, and then if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook anywhere else, you're watching the rerun. We're not live if you're watching this anywhere else because that is the rerun. That's how
you should check out Hypeshot and visit us live next time.
Yep. We need to start utilizing the functions of Hypeshot more. We need to get some POAPs going, some mintable episodes.
We do need some POAPs,
which we are gonna do. I'm working on some live performance stuff. So when we do our next live performance, that will be the first episode you'll be able to own of Zombie Time on Hypeshot. We haven't actually made any collectible NFT episodes. So hopefully some people would like to collect that episode.
Episode or POAP?
Episode.
Oh.
POAPs we'll definitely start working on. Even if I got to do it myself through AI and Canva, Figma or something like that. Like even if I got to do it all myself and make my own POAPs, we should start getting on POAPs. The main reason is just because POAP is kind of like a pain in the ass process. You know what I mean?
On the back end?
Yeah.
I like it though. I mean, as a user of POAP, as a collector of POAPs, it's like an on-chain resume. You know, it's like a proof.
And it doesn't have to be on-chain.
It doesn't have to be, but
you
it
can
is.
Get a POAP with an email address only if you want.
Right. But it's a way to show a streak of activity. It's a way to show like consistent engagement in a thing, and I think that's valuable.
Yeah. We did POAPs when Gerline and I used to have a podcast called Midnight Cuddle Club, and we had POAPs for every episode, I think. So there's some people out there who have some old school Zimtimo POAPs, and those were really cool. I really love those. That was back in 21 when we were doing that. And
back in the day.
Back in the G. So yeah, working on that. I've been in the studio a little bit, and then tomorrow you and I will be working on the next episode of From A to Z.
That's correct.
So be on the lookout for that. That is going to be about DeFi and the creator economy. If you haven't been paying attention to our creator economy series, we basically it's a good show, I think, for normies to come in on. It's very much kind of like low level explaining everything, but I do think that you and I do show a good bit of our experience through anecdotes, and we try to keep it at a pace and a talking level that anyone who's just learning about this stuff can come into it.
Exactly.
But it's interesting enough for you and I that anyone who is interested in us as podcast hosts or just some of our experiences in Web3, then, for the more expert Web3 people, there's still something for you to come hang out and listen to us, even if you don't need the 101.
Right, you might learn of a neat example or a neat story. I know even in creating these episodes, I come across new examples or new artists, new use cases. I always find something that's interesting and fresh.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, the next episode is going to be on DeFi. I know we've got some stuff coming. Well, we got security.
Oh, sorry.
Because we realized we've gotten this far into the series and we haven't been telling people to protect their seed phrase.
All right, let's see. We got episode 8, which is our next one, is decoding DeFi. 9 is DAOs and collective ownership. 10 is security. 11 is charity and public goods funding. 12, regulation. And 13, a bit of a paradox, like the Web3 paradox.
Yes. The paradox being, here we are in Web3, telling you to use Web3 on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter, and using a bunch of gated services that aren't giving us the value, but we got to go where the normies are sometimes, So that's what we were talking about at the very beginning. Where's the line between, providing value to your Web3 audience and outreach through the Web2 audience to bring new people in? And, it's a hard thing to think about. It's part of your strategy as a creator. Right. And so
you have to leverage Web2 to get people into your Web3 stuff.
Exactly. So that's kind of what the last episode is about how we're using all of these tools and talking about our strategy, maybe even musing a bit on how we could better implement strategy. That would be a cool episode, even about. We might do that one as more of a okay, that was weird. I think my audio clicked off for a second, but
I got a little dip.
I think I knocked my microphone wire, so the USB connected and reconnected. Anyway, yes, so that might be a good episode where we actually just do it. We wing it. Maybe we don't write a script for that one. We kind of put it out.
We'd have enough to draw from. I think we actually could do that one on the fly.
And then maybe have some audience members for that one, because it would be great to have people come on, ask questions, share strategy. Right. Maybe we really need to lean in that last episode. And the other reason that episode is going to be so special is because it's going to be the transition episode into our next series, which is Moloch.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
I'm excited about the Moloch episode.
Oh, me too. The whole series. I mean, we've encountered so much now in our Web3 experience, in our DAO experience, in life in general. We've seen Moloch. We know its face. And
100%.
We've seen
Moloch drive friendships apart in Web3. We've seen
indeed
some of the good, the bad, and the ugly, if there is any good to Moloch.
The TLDR there being Moloch is it's a character from the Bible.
the Canaanite god of sacrifice.
There we go.
Particularly babies.
It requires sacrifice for no real end, no real reason. You don't gain anything from the sacrifice, but it requires the sacrifice just to keep the system going. And that's Moloch, and that's why that's the drive to slay Moloch, is to reduce those frictions, to reduce those sacrifices for the sake of keeping the system going.
In the
And they're everywhere.
Yeah, in Web3 terms, Moloch is the god of human coordination failure. Moloch is the reason that two people can agree to something and one of them defects.
Yeah.
And and also the Green Pilled, which is one of my favorite podcasts with Kevin Owaki previously from Gitcoin. He just did an episode on Moloch with Liv Boré, who is also another big, she talks a lot about Moloch. She has her own YouTube channel talking about Moloch. She's been on Lex Fridman talking about Moloch. So she's got some really awesome views on it. One of her big examples, for instance, is beauty filters and how, like it's, one woman uses a beauty filter to look better than the next woman, and now they all have to use it, because if not, you don't want to be the one person on social media looking hurt. Yeah. So yeah, she's a really, so I want to listen to her. I was glad Kevin Owaki and Liv did that, because they're both two people I really respect and would love to get their views on Moloch and everything going into our series.
We haven't done any interview style or guest style shows, because that could be an interesting opportunity too.
We had Sam Padilla from Google.
That's true. Yep.
And so Sam is part of the ATX DAO, and he works at Google in the blockchain cryptocurrency department in Austin. So he was really great to have a conversation with. I would love to get Sam back, but that's the only guest we've had, really. So
yeah, I see ATX DAO getting into a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it was a good conversation. It was a good dialogue. I think if we were to do it again, definitely structure the chat and not leave questions open to the audience.
That was back in our early From A to Z days when
everybody got caught off guard.
Everybody show up, and then that show got a little sidetracked because one of our guests didn't realize that we had like a structure and just totally kept sidelining everything. And we were.
And I think there was a small misunderstanding, like around what the discussion was about. So there was just like too many short-circuited miscommunications that led to a very.
You mean Moloch showed up to our first interview?
Moloch showed up and just ruined everything. Yeah.
It was a good time though, and Sam was a great sport about it. And we've been in talks ever. I think we're on Telegram speaking and Twitter. So good guy. I'd love to have him back on the show. The way we're going to do the Moloch show is we're actually going to break it down section by section. So the Moloch series doesn't have a limit necessarily. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to read a passage from Scott Alexander's Moloch essay. One of us will read the passage, and then we will begin discussing that passage. And we're essentially going to do an hour per passage. Some passages might take a lot longer. I mean, even some passages might end up being like, no, we got to pick this up again next week because we're not done here.
Between just tying it into real world examples and working out ways to fix these things, it might take us some time.
And I'm excited about it because I think Moloch is something we both have a lot of strong opinions on.
And a lot of experience with.
Strong examples of, too. And also, this might be a spicy one, to be totally honest, because you and I are pretty, I don't like to throw anything under the bus. I don't like to be public about a bunch of, drama and tea going on. So
but I'll call a turd.
We might end up in this episode having to talk about some examples that get quite ugly. So if you want to hear the tea on some of the terrible experiences Zephi and I have seen or witnessed in the Web3 space, this might be the series.
You might like our series. Yep.
So I am excited because, I feel like we won't pull our punches in that arena. We are wrapping up our hour. We got about 8 minutes till we're at the top of the hour, so we don't want to waste everybody's time and keep you hanging on too much. But what else did I want to mention today before we get out of here?
Any new tracks? Any new songs coming? Any new zombie drops? What do we need to be watching for?
Well, I do want to encourage people to finish collecting Helicon Descending. If you have not gotten all the tracks, I really would appreciate if you could do that, because I'm kind of waiting on at least getting to a 50% mint so that I can like do these airdrops, and I think because I don't want to keep this thing as an open-ended, like, if somebody waits a year from now, like if we don't mint out in a year from now, somebody collects all 9, I don't want to have to be on the hook to like do an airdrop when I've already moved on to other stuff.
Right.
Although these are 101s, and so it kind of means like doing it anyway to a degree. But I'd rather put a cap on it, at least by time. And part of what I'm thinking that cap is going to be is for the release of the next album, which, just loosely thinking about it, I haven't decided exactly how I'm dropping the next album, but loosely thinking about it, I'm thinking I'd like to maybe October is when I'd like to drop the next album. And I don't know exactly what that means as far as if I'm going to drop it one song at a time like I did, or if I'm going to do, maybe drop the whole album next time as one big, although that one is a lot longer. Like the first song on the next album is like 13 minutes long. And the second song on the album is at least 8 or 9 minutes long.
What about if you were to drop them individually? What about, or actually, I take that back. What about dropping the whole album up front and then spending each week individually going over one track?
Interesting.
Because then you can give all the examples of the tracks, how they all tie together, and then go back and touch on, what sets them apart and what makes them unique and all that.
Yeah, that's a good approach. I like that.
It's an idea, at least.
Yeah, I do kind of like that. The other thing is, Gerline is working on the animation for Helicon Descending, as I was saying. So that could be another, like maybe by the time I'm ready to do the mirror release for Helicon Descending, then that will be the point at which I cut off the airdrops, because, now we'll be done, so to speak. Although maybe not, because once again, releasing on mirror might be the impetus to get the rest of them minted out. So maybe leaving it open till the next album is a good idea, because then I'm giving anyone the chance to get in at any point until the next album begins. And
that seems like a reasonable window.
I am going to release the entire Helicon Descending as one track on Spotify. I've decided, because first of all, I don't think Spotify likes things that are under a minute, for one. I think that would not work out for me. Second, I want to release the album in its entirety so that you can hear the overlap from track to track. And I think the best way to do that would be to release it as, although Spotify also equally probably doesn't like me releasing an 8-minute and 22-second song. But, I'm not doing this for Spotify. That's right. The same problem with my next album, is because Spotify probably doesn't like a 13-minute song either. So it's really going to be about getting listeners by getting people to listen to it. I really can't count on the algorithm to throw a 13-minute song in there.
Fair. 13-minute song by a little-known, comparatively little-known artist.
Right. Hey, you know what's cool, though?
Algorithms.
I put on, so I don't pay for Spotify. And so I tried to listen to Blood and Honey on my phone from the Spotify link. So I clicked the Spotify link, and if you don't pay for it, you can't listen to what you want. it'll give you a playlist based on this track you chose. But
how'd
if
that
you
do?
click through the playlist, the track will be in that playlist at some point. So I basically just clicked through until it got to Blood and Honey, and I listened to Blood and Honey, and then the next song to come on was 9 Inch Nails. It was like, if you like Blood and Honey, you'd like 9 Inch Nails. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah, that's an alright connection.
Yeah.
And not untrue.
There you go. So that was kind of cool.
But again, it's pulling you back to like mainstream artists.
Right. Exactly. It's not like it showed you some other cool indie artist that's in my genre.
It wants to keep you on the platform, regardless of how much you're enjoying your music or what new music you're finding. We want you here listening.
Exactly. Yeah. If the next song had been another indie artist, you might have just turned it off or clicked next.
Can't risk that. You might like 9 Inch Nails.
You know what's funny is not because of my voice at all, but I often compare my singing to Trent Reznor only because neither of us are very good at it.
You still got a song out of it, but it didn't sound very good. No. That's funny.
Yeah, it's like Trent Reznor and I, we're not good singers because we're good singers. We're good singers because we're confident. I will confidently hit the wrong note, and you either like it or you don't.
There you go. Make it sound intentional, and you'll be good.
That's pretty much it, man. So, yeah, I've been in the studio. Gerlina's working on the animated part for Helicon Descending, planning out mirror drops. I've been working on the artwork for the airdrops. Like you saw, I did some initial artwork for the airdrops. But like I said, if I do one-on-ones for everybody, then maybe you'll end up with the 3 one-on-ones I've already created. You know, you'll end up with the first editions because you have been there, man. You've been collecting them all. And, you know, you didn't have to do that. I didn't expect that. I didn't put Z-Fi up to it. He did it on his own.
I want him. Yep. I think I like where this is headed, and I'm investing in these securities of my own volition.
And I mean, dude, like, it's funny because buku people that I know IRL have been sharing my song. Like, nice. I'll be like meeting new people for the first time, and they'll be like, "Oh, you know, this guy's a musician," and they'll like share my song, and I'm like, "Dude, that's cool." Like, people are like, you know,
very cool.
You even said like you love Blood and Honey, and I'm like, that's so cool that like people are actually into what I'm doing. It's been a while since I've had the ego to go all in. And now I'm like going all in, and I'm really happy to be streaming on Hypeshot and releasing with Riff and Lens Protocol, and, you know, building a Web3 audience, because Web2, the last decade of Web2 shilling has been bullshit.
Seen enough. No, thank you. Opt out.
So we are at the top of our hour. Super appreciate everybody being here with us. Gerline, Girl, Ravi, Kevin, anybody else who didn't say hello that just happens to be in the background lurking. Moloch, I know you're out there.
Always out there. We do not appreciate your presence. He didn't even log us a view count.
Right? Didn't even log a view count. Nothing. So what do we got coming up? We got 6 more episodes of From A to Z. We got Zombie Time coming at you every week. We got airdrops. Helicon Descending is out there live to mint on Lens Protocol, Riff app, and live performances coming to Hypeshot soon enough. I'm trying to figure that out. It's not going to be this month. I promise you that, because I'm super busy this month. I'm working on a house. I'm trying to get a new job. I just got too much shit going on. And then, then after we're done with the Creator Economy series, we'll be on the Moloch series, where we will be telling you all about the Web3T.
Indeed.
All right, friends. Well, we will see you again very soon.